Right, there we go. Hello, everyone. To people just joining, to people who have been waiting, and to everyone watching things back on the pod, whether it's here on Twitch or on YouTube, depending on when you're watching this. Hello, welcome back to another stream, and welcome back to Game Dev Sunday. Now, first things first, I apologise for not streaming on Friday because I was doing fun things with friends. To be honest, that was the reason why I took that stream off, because I was doing fun stuff with friends. Second, I apologise for the lack of Game Dev Sunday last week because genuinely, my head felt like it was going to explode by the end of like after work and whatnot. So I just thought about, it would be easier if I took a break from running stream that day, just to sort of give myself time to chill and sort of slow down in a sense. But yes, we're back in Game Dev Sunday once again, and I just dropped a thing on my desk. Whoops. Now, so to go over some things, and I know that I always do this at the start of every Game Dev Sunday stream. It's kind of a formality at this point, where I, at the very least, go over, hey, this is the stuff that we did last time, this is the stuff that we focused on, this is what we managed to get done, this is, this is the progress that we're currently making, and all that jazz, and so on and so forth. The last time that we worked on anything on Game Dev Sunday, we were working on extra sound effects, we were working on, tweaking, refining some things for the player, and also making some collectible sound effects too. And in particular, I don't know if this is still, hold on. Where is, oh, there it is. Yeah, those were the ones that we made for collecting the fruit and collecting the cheese. So slowly, things are feeling a little bit more lively in terms of, say, some of the visual presentation and some of the sound effects and sound design and so on. Which, good. It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing to have sound design, because it at the very least puts emphasis on things. It helps to sort of like make things feel like they're alive rather than, feeling very static and devoid of any personality. I should probably also adjust the volume in, where is it? Yeah. In Opera on YouTube, just so it's not too loud and doesn't, make it difficult to hear any of the sound effects and whatnot, even though that's not going to be too much of a focus today. And the reason I say this is because one of the things that I outlined previously when it came to starting the preparation for making the sound effects, and if we go into Clip Studio, I don't have that specific one open at the moment. If I go... Yep, sound effects needed. So for the player, essentially for the player, we've got a lot of what we need. We don't have like a we don't have a proper sprint sound effect at the moment. We do. We do. We have like a general run sound effect and then the sprint sound effect, which is like a heavier version of it. We have a wall jump sound. We have a stomp landing sound effect. We have a landing sound effect. We originally considered the jump sound effect, but we just decided, nah, we don't really need this. Also, I should probably, there's probably no issues with my microphone and the volume being automatically adjusted by Windows, but you never know. I may as well just check. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay, so Windows hasn't decided to be fucky and just adjust my microphone input volume to like 75% for no apparent reason other than to just be silly. But yes, we originally considered having a jump sound, but then looking at Spyro and some other games, it's not really needed. Maybe later down the line, if we decide, hey, maybe it'll give our character a little bit more personality, we'll add like a little jumping grunt sound effect, who knows. We have a sound effect for the air dashes, for the wall slide, and for being hit, though that's kind of generally applied to both the player and the enemy. But the thing that I really want to kind of, I guess in a way, draw attention to, and I'm going to go grab my drawing tablet because I will be making a lot of notes in Clip Studio today. Be forewarned. The main thing I want to kind of try and want to draw attention to is the rest of the stuff, like general noises like grunts, cry, screaming, so on and so forth, attack sounds, death sounds. Now, if we were to just like do that kind of stuff for a test enemy, then, you know, just to make that would only really be for testing sound effects, just to make sure that they work. And we obviously know that of course does work. We know that sound effects, you know, exist. They do things. They are played when we need them to be played. You know, there's no issues with those. There's absolutely zero issues with those whatsoever. Oh, I dropped my tablet, my drawing tablet pen, or drawing tab, or drawing pad. Fuck. But the main thing that I want to sort of talk about is specific enemies. And by that I mean specific enemy, like, species or designs, or having variants of, like, a given enemy type or design, and so on and so forth. And how, while it wouldn't be 100%, I say it wouldn't be 100% necessary, but at the same time, I do feel like it would be very necessary to have many different sound effects that are gosh, but yes, yes, in terms of those, like the specifics, at the moment, as like we've previously gone into, like we've previously sort of looked at designing concepts for, or creating concept art or small little concept sketches for like different enemy designs and so on and so forth. And that's fine and all. That's, you know, warming things up, practicing for, you know, when we actually have things finalized. However, as I've just mentioned, nothing is actually finalized. You know, nothing actually is has been concretely decided. We don't have, say, a concrete direction for any semblance of story. We don't have any plans or proper, like, laid out plans for how the player progresses from level to level, how they move from hub world to hub world, what each hub world itself is themed after, and what possible level themes could exist within that given space. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily, like, the level themes don't have to necessarily line up with the hub world, because as we look at games like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot and whatnot, well, I say that with the possible exception of Crash 4, because that's a bit more, I say, in line in terms of having its levels themed after what area of the hub or of the world map that the player is on. But generally speaking, Sorry, just a moment. Yes, but generally speaking, looking at some games that, you know, have reasonably sized hub worlds with multiple different levels within that given hub world, none of the levels really sort of correlate to a given theme of a hub world. The hub world just kind of exists, and then the levels are just, you know, their own kind of locales with their own different visuals and themes and character types and so on and so forth. And I'd say Spyro, of course, as usual, is probably the prime example of this, because you have these different hub worlds. Say in Spyro 3 we have Sunrise Spring, Midday Garden, you know, the music we're listening to now, Evening Lake, and Midnight Mountain. You have 4 hub worlds in that game. And while those hub worlds are kind of themed after different times of day, and, you know, they all have different layouts, different like aesthetics, different vibes, and so on and so forth, none of the levels within any of those given areas necessarily correlate to, you know, those given visuals for that given hub world. And a similar thing kind of happens, I believe, with Crash 2. I need to revisit Crash 2. I didn't fully complete Crash 2 on the Insane Trilogy, so, you know, I'm possibly completely wrong, but I am aware of, like, everything involving Crash 2 and Crash 3's warp rooms and whatnot, and so on and so forth. But in terms of the hub, you know what? Actually, I haven't even started like writing notes down. I'm flapping my flapping gums so much, and I haven't even actually started making proper notes on things. So, pardon me while I do this. So, plans for progression. That's essentially what I'm going to be writing here. So, apologies if you came live or watching things back and were probably thinking, you know, we're going to be making more progress with actually developing things. This is, to be fair, it kind of aids with the development. It's more so planning things out for, you know, another kind of planning things out stream, like I did before with planning out the my notes for the game design document. But this is more so actually trying to hammer out a specific area of the document, which is either plot related or, you know, game progression related, which, you know, is vitally important, because if we actually have a direction for, you know, how things progress between hub world to hub world, and how or what types of levels we could have within those spaces, then it gives us a bit more of a solid direction for, you know, actually planning out level themes. And then, in turn, gives us more of a solid direction for creating different enemy designs and actually creating those models, which brings us closer to, you know, actually having something tangible in terms of a prototype, or, you know, a demo, or so on and so forth. So, this is very important. This is a very important step that we need to take here. So, we do need to consider quite a bit. We need to consider quite a bit here. So, plans for plans for progression. My first main point that I want to hammer out, in a way, is the plot itself. Now, a rat-based friendship mechanic which culminates in a 20-minute cutscene of the rat ordering food that makes important for lore reasons. Oh god, that reminds me of what RGG Studio did for finishing all the Minato Girl sub-stories in Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, where I did it in my own spare time, and as it turns out, they made a whole, like, chunk of 30 minutes of FMV cutscenes for this one sub-story ending, which is crazy, but yes. And the cutscenes oh good lord. Good God, good God. But yes, in terms of plot, now, if we were to look at, say, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, in terms of, like, some platformers, like, Mario 64 doesn't have, like, a quote-unquote plot per se. It has like a goal that it gives you, which is find the Power Stars and rescue Princess Peach from Bowser. That's the tried and true like Mario formula, except you're finding Power Stars within the different levels within Peach's castle. That's essentially it. Um, if we were talking about Super Mario 64 DS, then that's kind of more of a bit of, you're going in, you need to help save, like, not just Peach, but also find Mario, Luigi, and Wario, because they have been trapped inside the castle. And then, do the rest of the game that way, which, that's Mario 64 DS. But we're talking about the original Super Mario 64. The original, which is just find Power Stars, rescue Peach, which is not, a story, it's more so a goal. And I guess, like, the whole, don't forget Waluigi, he's a hidden character. My uncle knows a guy who cleans at Nintendo. He doesn't, he works, quote unquote, at Nintendo, but he doesn't, fully work there. He's a part-timer. He's a part-time janitor at the office. Right. So, but yes, in terms of Mario 64's progression, if I'm not gonna draw out like a scale drawing of Peach's castle because effort, but like the player enters on like the ground floor. Have we decided on the name for the rat? Not yet, but hopefully, maybe today we may think of something. Like in terms of the player's progression through Peach's castle, they have like they go in the ground floor after beating Bowser the first time. They go down to the basement, which is kind of going downwards, but they can't, exactly go upstairs from the ground floor because that door is still locked. They beat Bowser the second time. They go up to the floor here, and then they get enough Power Stars. They go up to the top floor, and then you have the funny infinite staircase that leads to the final Bowser fight and whatnot. Like, that's kind of linear in a way, and it's a very simplistic form of progression. It's a singular hub world, but there's different, segmented areas of the hub world, if that makes sense. Upstreams that. No! Okay, okay, it should be fine now. I think. I'd say possibly I'd say possibly refresh. Just so it can catch up, but it's been happening a bit recently. I need to try and like get this sorted out because it never used to happen like this before. I never used to have problems like having my internet set up this way since like almost a year ago. I have had for the most part absolutely zero problems up until now. So it's kind of weird that now it's just having problems. So I need to look into it. But yes, in terms of like progression, it's a fairly simplistic form of progression. It's a singular hub world, but it's like different areas within the hub world. And then of course on each floor you have like the different rooms for what about Rumpus Rat? Maybe. I'll make another sheet. So name Rumpus. Right, so that's one name on the list of name ideas. And in if I think about it, in the similar vein, we'd have Banjo-Kazooie's progression within Gruntilda's lair. Where we have, like, the different layers of the lair. I'm trying to remember how many layers of the lair there are, but... Then it goes up, then up, then up, then up, and la-di-da-di-da, you know what I mean. And then as... So we're thinking a cave for the hub world. Aha. Hold on. That could be an idea. So... Let me just... Could be a series of caves. Right. Okay. So, and in terms of Banjo-Kazooie, as the player progresses, they move up each, like, layer of the lair. And, you know, they keep moving up, completing levels. Eventually, to unlock Click Clock Wood, they have to go down, like, close to the bottom of the lair to, you know, find the thing to unlock that level. But aside from that, it's, like, fairly standard in terms of progression, even though there's, like, one or two cases of backtracking. Either for unlocking levels, or, you know, for just doing stuff in general. But that's those two cases. Those... Are there going to be friendly NPCs? I mean, probably. Because if we were... Hold on. Where is the... Right, let me... Because... Like... Because going through, like, my little examples, I'll get to the matter of the NPCs in a moment. But in terms of like the different styles of hub worlds, because you know we have, you know, what is essentially a single hub world with different layers, or I don't even want to talk about Banjo-Tooie's example of a hub world where it's just different sections of a huge fucking island that you do have a fast travel system for, but there's a reason why there's a fast travel system. But in terms of, if we were to look at the structure for, say, Spyro 2? Yeah. Oh wait, I accidentally changed the size of the pencil brush. Whoops. Right. So... You think... It's... Okay, yeah, no, now I remember. Right, so... If we were to look at, say, the progression from Homeworld to Homeworld in Spyro 2, for example, you know, moving on... Also, what scale? Same size or bigger? I'd generally say... Because if we look at something like, say, Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie or hell, even Spyro, in all cases, for the most part, bosses would tend to be larger than like the characters in those games, you know, except for some very small cases. For example, in Banjo-Tooie, there's, you know, one boss that's at the very least the same size as Banjo, but for the most part, you do tend to see characters grappling with something that's larger in scale. Um, so I definitely feel like it would be a case of, for the most part, to keep things exciting, you know, have players go up against challenges that are daunting in size. But yes, if we look at the hub world progression in Spyro 2, we have the Summer Forest, the Autumn Plains, and finally the Winter Tundra. And yes, they only have three homeworlds in Spyro 2. And yes, there is no spring themed hub world, which is kind of sad, and a lot of people assume that them doing 4 hub worlds in Spyro 3 was probably making up for the fact that they didn't get to do like the whole cycle of the 4 seasons in Spyro 2, but they did like 4 times during the day. But yes, in terms of like each area's connection to, I'd say, the kind of overarching plot of Spyro 2, they are very tangentially linked to the overarching plot, because like you have like these areas, but each area kind of is linked to, I guess, some kind of like castle or area of the kingdom. Or I could take from no, I am not taking from a singular hub world where you can glitch, swim, fly into the final boss gate and end the game in 10 minutes. I am not doing that. But yes, but in terms of Spyro 2, these areas, like, they're, of course, they're themed after seasons, and in terms of their link to the plot, like, their location in relation to the, like, the castle within the game is very, like, central, because, you know, they're very closely linked to it. But in terms of the actual level themes themselves, they're not really, you know, they don't really correlate to, you know, summer, autumn, and winter. You have a mixture of different level themes and ideas within each of these areas. Hell, like in Summer Forest, which is the first hub world, you have an ice themed level within Summer Forest, so it doesn't really matter. And hell, even if we go into Spyro 3, where, you know, the hub worlds are, you know, still in relation to the plot, but at the same time, in terms of their placement, they're not, you know, directly connected, other than the fact that they are the Forgotten Realms, or Spyro, like the Spyro universe's Forgotten Realms or whatnot. Like, we have Sunray Spring, Midday Garden, Evening Lake, and finally we have Midnight Mountain. We have those 4 hub worlds in Spyro 3. And then, of course, none of the, like, level themes correlate to, like, a time of day. Because say, for example, you go to Midday Gardens and you go to the spooky swamp. That place, takes place at night. And it's located within Midday Garden. No, it's not related to it. Oh, why did I not write mountain? And then you still have some daytime themed levels, like in Midnight Mountain, and a kind of a mix between all of these. So it's not fully, connected in terms of like level themes, and then between level themes and the themes of the hub world. Rat skateboarding minigame like Spyro 3. No. Rat driving a Segway. Rat riding a Segway. A rat riding a Segway would be kind of stupid, actually, now that I think about it. But yes, the whole point I'm trying to make is that in terms of Segway rat gameplay would be iconic. So I'll keep that in mind. So the point I was trying to make is that level themes don't necessarily have to be connected to the overall theme of a hub world, because in so many cases, they're really not that linked. They're really not that linked to one another. So, or linked to each other. So, it just kind of happens. And also, in terms of like plot itself, in the case of Spyro 2 and Spyro 3, for the most part, any important story beats happen in between levels after like a certain number of levels are completed and whatnot. So story beats, Metal Gear Solid, good no. Kind of like how Spyro 3 gives you a Doom section. Or gives you a 2D side-scrolling section with Sheila. So, story beats. He answers the codec and just speaks in sweet. Or just suddenly becomes fucking Solid Snake. Colonel. And then the other creature's just squeaking like, who the fuck is Colonel? Story beats happen between levels. So now, in terms of actual, like, plot hooks, because, that's probably one of the more important things to kind of think of in terms of the plot, is the actual hook for the plot itself. Because if I don't have, a Colonel, Metal Gear, Foxhound. Oh, wait. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I want to... Yep, there we go. Perfect. Okay, right. So, as I said, important thing with the plot is to have a good hook for the plot. So, now, I'm not trying to make some, complicated narrative experience. I'm not trying to be Kojima. And I'm not trying to be Neil Druckmann, who tries to be Kojima, but he doesn't make it anywhere close. I'm just trying to make a story that, at the very least, kind of makes sense. And also has... See, here's the thing. This is... You probably can't tell, but I'm kind of just, like, violently shaking my fists around right now, because there is a point that I need to sort of vomit onto the people indiscriminately without care or concern, and that's concerning Yooka-Laylee. And this is mildly like talking point spoilers for when I eventually get that bloody video done, because I am... So what's the rat super objective? That's going to end up being... Yeah, kind of, yeah. Like... Like, if I had to, like... I remember now. Ukulele. I was trying to think, and I didn't want my head to explode. In terms of, like, the motives for, you know, Yuka and Laylee's adventure to get all the pages back for the one book, it's very, like, hollow. It's not really, like, well-driven. Like, sure, the motivation for the villain itself is like, I'm going to use this book and its pages to rewrite the universe, la-di-da-di-da. Like, sure, that's dangerous stuff. That is... I was not, no. I was not playing it for a story. I was playing it to, for the sake of comparison. But the story is unfortunately kind of somewhat linked to comparisons and such. But yes, if I had to describe like sure, like Capital B's motivation or Capital B's plan is grand on scale, rewrite the universe, la di da di da. Sure, but in terms of personal relation to like for Yuka and Laylee, like they only find out like a little bit into like their adventure that Capital B is trying to rewrite the universe. Oh, we got to stop him then, I guess. But we've also got to get this page back so we can these books back for this, or these pages back for this book so we can sell it and make money. Like that's not really good like personal stakes. Like, it doesn't really feel like a strong motivation. Oh, we're just going to get these pages back for this book so we can make money. Like, feels so weak of a motivation. Like, by comparison, for the original Banjo-Kazooie, Gruntilda kidnaps Tooty, Banjo's sister, and takes her to her lair to essentially push her into a machine to steal her youth and beauty, to make Tooty ugly, and make Gruntilda attractive, which, to be fair, it does work if you get a game over, but you're trying to not let that happen. But already from like the start of Banjo-Kazooie, you have a motivation that's a bit more personal for Banjo. He wants to rescue his sister. His sister has been kidnapped. Like, and Gruntilda is trying to do something awful to her. So all the more reason for Banjo-Kazooie to go on their adventure and to stop Gruntilda. Hell, like, Banjo-Tooie, like, from the very start, even Banjo-Tooie has, like, a very personal, like, motivation for Banjo-Kazooie. Because, oh hey, in the opening of the game, when Gruntilda is, like, risen from underneath the boulder that crushed her at the end of the first game, and, she fires off her magic at Banjo's house. Bottles is killed. Banjo and Kazooie go on a quest to avenge Bottles and try and find a way to get him back. They meet King Jingling, the king of the Jinjos, but then suddenly, Gruntilda drains his life force and turns him into a zombie. That's like you have big stakes, like, in terms of what it could mean for the game's world as a whole, but you also have big stakes for Banjo and Kazooie because they know people who have been directly impacted by this. So, like, it's very involved. And then Yooka-Laylee is just, like, very, like, hands-off. It feels very weak. And, like, yeah, no, Mighty Number 9, that story. I know of the horror of Mighty Number 9. I have never played it, nor do I intend to. I don't even know if I would push myself to play it for a video. And I'm pretty sure the point for that game has been done to death many times over. Like, a lot of people have probably done that job way more thoroughly. Though, who knows? Maybe it'll be funny to bring the conversation back up again. Because sometimes it's hilarious. But yes, in terms of plot, so good hook, make it feel personal. What is it with Kickstarter games and just not being very good in terms of story? Like, now in terms of like games funded by it's an interesting oddity because sometimes you have some games that do very well, having been funded through Kickstarter. They, have a good development. They, end up with a quality product, and they are, generally like praised to some extent by, the wide gaming audience and whatnot. And then you have a handful of Kickstarter stories where they essentially ended up as the gifted child. They had a lot of potential, and they did so well at the start, and then by the time it gets later down their lifespan, you see, oh, they're kind of washed up, and they just burn out. Like, that happened with Ukulele, where it had a lot of promise, and a lot of people were just not to mention the years of delay. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, but not yet. Just it's just a, like the fact I backed Ukulele when it first came out, and I was so excited. Oh, right. So I guess, in some kind of sense, you could be considered a subject of case study for people who saw the potential for a spiritual successor to, like, collectathon games from way back in the day, and you just kind of jumped on board. But to be fair, that's understandable. Like, you see a company that's kind of being spearheaded by former developers from Rare, and they're promising something that is very similar to what they used to, work on. You're going to have a lot of faith in them, and you're going to, put trust in those ideas. But in the end, like, apparently, no. Apparently, this is something I found out, like, recently, because, like, I played Ukulele the whole way through. I didn't 100% it, because after fully completing Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, like, front to back, I was not doing absolutely everything for Ukulele. I was just going to do the bare minimum to beat the game, and that was about it. Like, I could tell in places from when I was playing it that, this felt rushed. This feels like there's stuff missing, and so on and so forth. And sure enough, like, a lot of people generally say just, like, it was, like, like, it definitely feels rushed. Like, if I could, it felt unfinished, like you're saying. Yes, like, not just in terms of, like, how things felt, like, in terms of exploration. It felt like some ideas were tacked on. You had what were essentially just reskins of enemies across, like, literally every single level had reskins of the same enemy with the same animations. But, oh, they've got a different character model. Like, they've had their animations retargeted for a different character model, or they just use the same skeleton. and just layered like different meshes for it. But it's kind of crazy, just the fact that, hold on, there was a thing that I know Wikipedia isn't, big source of information that, is, yeah, no, right. But to be fair, in terms of information, I'd rather get my information from Wikipedia than, ChatGPT and all that shit. I would rather do research from Wikipedia than listen to the funny, unfunny, AI hive mind that's just stealing information from other people. I would rather just get my information from Wikipedia, you know, because at the very least, like, sure, there's a possibility that the person editing that page is possibly joshing you, but at the same time, it could be joshing you in a funny goddamn way, you know? But according to Wikipedia, at the very least, and I might actually use this as a talking point in the video when I say, what the hell happened with Yooka-Laylee? So apparently, due to the campaign's success, the team's attention was often diverted to other aspects, such as making merchandise items rather than focusing on the game's development, and some choices related to game development were forced as well, due to them being promised in the campaign. You heard it from big old Wikipedia, that they kind of turned their attention towards making the merchandise and kind of forgot that, oh hey, we're making a video game here. Maybe we should actually do that. And because they had promised items in the campaign, or promised some, like, features or, items of development within the campaign, they had to, make sure they existed, even if it was just, the bare minimum or an absolutely cobbled together development, if that makes sense. So, an interesting kind of situation now that I think about it. It's weird. It's strange. Like, looking at it from that lens. Looking at it from that lens is very strange. But it is interesting finding stuff out about these kinds of things. Okay, now I want to see what the hell. I mean, of course, Wikipedia will probably say that Mighty Number 9 was considered a commercial disaster. So, right. So, looking at what good old Wikipedia says about the old suspect, Mighty Number 9. It says, well, at the very least, in the main section, it says it was highly anticipated. No. Actually, I'm starting from the wrong area. It says the game was originally scheduled to be released in April 2015, but was delayed multiple times until it was eventually released for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Wii U, Windows, Xbox 360, and Xbox One in June 2016, with Linux and OS X ports released in August 2016, with planned versions for the... Oh yeah, there was supposed to be a 3DS version of Mighty Number 9 that never got released. Holy shit. Mighty Number 9 was highly anticipated after it was announced, but lengthy delays and Concept's decision to fund another project, because, they decided while they were supposed to be working on this quote-unquote spiritual spiritual successor for the Mega Man series, that people were, essentially clamoring for, they just decided to work on another project in the background. They were just being accused of mismanagement. The game received mixed to negative reviews from critics upon launch, with criticism being directed towards the game's design, the graphics, lack of content, voice acting, story, and technical performance on home console platformers. Like, oh yeah, and then there's just Hmm. See, now I'm thinking about it, and perhaps I'm wrong. Well, I'm probably not wrong. I feel like one of the very few cases where a Kickstarter campaign genuinely led to a game that was, generally positively received by people was Psychonauts 2. Because that game released almost 4 years ago. The game released almost 4 years ago, and at the time I had Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, so I played it via Game Pass because it was included in Game Pass. And I had a lot of fun with it. Like, I played the original Psychonauts a good few years beforehand, but generally speaking, like, Psychonauts 2, I love it. I love Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is really fun. It was great, and I love how it expanded on the original Psychonauts. I love, some of the different visual tricks that they handled with some of the levels, where you had what was essentially one section of one of the levels where you're essentially going around a spiral kind of hallway, but you start up in one point and then you come out in another location, just going around a spiral hallway, which is so cool. And some of it's creative, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's a gorgeous looking game too. It looks amazing. And there's one of the levels, which is Psyking Sensorium. It's an absolute feast for the senses. The colors are so vibrant, and I love when games can sort of play with their art style and sort of make adjustments to it, which makes things feel different, but at the same time still feels like that it would belong within that art style. It's good, it's great. I love Psychonauts 2. If you haven't played Psychonauts or Psychonauts 2, then you definitely should. Psychonauts 1, generally speaking, despite it's an old game, it's an old game, it definitely shows its age at times, but generally speaking, Psychonauts 1, great fun. I actually, over Christmas last year, made the goal to just play through all of Psychonauts 1 and get every single achievement, which I did. I got all the achievements in Psychonauts 1, including the very specific one that they made, I believe, for PC releases, where you have to go to the camp, the lodge shop in the camp, and buy an item on Christmas Day. Yes, that is a specific time-gated achievement that requires you to play the game on a very specific day that happens once a year. And I waited. I waited until it was until the clock had turned midnight and it was Christmas Day, and I got that achievement, and I 100%ed all the achievements on the game, and I did it all. But yeah, no. I love the Psychonauts games. They're great. But back to what I was saying before in terms of good Kickstarter games or campaigns that actually led to successful games. Hold on. I actually want to kind of do that as the subject of a video now. Kickstarter games that were good. Okay, the internet is not, being helpful with me at the moment. But yes, where did this come from? Oh yeah, good plot hooks. Good plot hooks. I went on such a massive tangent. Um, but I want things to feel very personal for the character, and also by extension the player. I want the player to feel like, oh, I have a very good reason. I want to, help this character, do this or prevent this from happening or find this out about what happened here. You know? I don't want it to be one note and shallow, like, oh, let's get these things back so we can sell this thing and make money. That's not personal. That's just being greedy. Like, like our little rat buddy could like have a family and they lose all their cheese, like either in like a great cataclysm or an evil cat steals it, and without the cheese their family goes hungry, or they have to do something else because it involves them from their past or something along those lines. I want something like that because I feel like it overall making at the very least, a basic plot hook that feels engaging to the player and the character could definitely help things feel, a lot more involved. But yes, ad break is about to start, so we'll be back in a few minutes. So hang on tight, and we'll be right back. And we are back. Okay, so another game. I'm just going to be talking about Spyro 3 again. Like another game where I'd say the stakes are somewhat personal is like, of course, Spyro 3, because at the start of the game, like Spyro and the other dragons are, and you know, Hunter is there as well, but Spyro and the other dragons and Hunter are like resting in the dragon realms, awaiting the time when, you know, the dragon eggs begin to hatch, you know, welcoming in the new generation of dragons and whatnot. I've got an ice pop, sorry about that. And then all of a sudden, Bianca and the Rhinox come in. They hop in through just a hole, and they start stealing all the dragon eggs. Spyro has to go back and has to go to the Forgotten Realms and, you know, like, let's get the dragon eggs back. You know, you have to save the dragon eggs. It's the new generation of dragons. You need to save them, and then eventually, later down the line, you find out that the sorceress, the whole motivation behind her kidnapping all of the dragon eggs was so that she can rip off the wings of all the dragon hatchlings so that she can use them, like, for a spell so she can live forever. Like, originally, her little lie that she tells Bianca is that, without the dragons, all the magic will wither away, I'll die, and you will never become a sorceress. That was the lie that she told her. And then later down the line, the mask comes off, her true motivations are revealed, and she says, yes, I'm going to kill all the dragons, take their wings, and use them as, like, a reagent for a spell so I can live forever. Like, that's a case of, yes, the motivation starts off personal, and then the stakes get, you know, the stakes gradually get greater because of, like, motivations being truly revealed, and that's stuff that I like. That's cool. That stuff's cool. So what I'm trying to say is that, like, sure, we need a good plot hook. However, stakes can grow. No, can become greater if necessary. So stakes can become greater if necessary, or a true motivation lies beneath a false one. If that makes sense. So those are things that I find pretty neat. Oh, gosh. Right. So for the plot, we have these points as follows. So the story beats would happen between levels. So say you complete a certain number of levels within the hub world, we have, like, a thing to check for, when a level is complete within a given area or just in general, we go back to our hub world and, we check that. If that has, met a requirement, then we just, play a story beat in the cutscene and then, we move things forward from there. Something along those lines. In terms of the actual start, we need a good hook. It needs to be personal, or it needs to, at the very least, feel personal for the character, and by extension, helps to involve the player as well. And then the stakes themselves can become greater if necessary, or a true motivation for like an antagonist lies beneath a false one that they essentially tell the world at large, basically. There we go. Right. Now, we don't necessarily have to follow absolutely all of these to the letter. We can just take some, like, permeation of them and go from there. But at the same time, it would probably help to make things stronger if we, at the very least, try to do it in some kind of standardized way. So, oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Anyway, sorry about that. I was just answering stuff. So as I was saying, we don't necessarily have to do all of these. We can, or all of these strictly. They can be a sort of like a permeation of them. So I already mentioned one idea where, like evil cat steals cheese and fruit. No, evil cat steals cheese. Rat can't feed family. Either he can't feed his family or he can't feed his whole clan. So we either, keep it localized to like a family, or we essentially make it on a grand scale of, oh god, there's a whole clan of rats that can't, survive without this cheese. So we have evil cat steals cheese, rat can't feed family slash clan. That's one thing that's kind of personal. Um, Another one which would be, you know, kind of closely involved, like the evil cat again, because I do kind of want to use that one like cat design that I made like ages ago. Um, Rat lives with wife. Cat kidnaps wife. Kind of like a Mario, kind of a, like Mario's like standard fare, but we'd kind of try and like Rat must go save wife. And then that would probably like the problem with this idea, why collect cheese? Like, the fact that we have cheese and fruits as collectibles kind of invalidates the whole, like, going to save the rat's wife as a, you know, as a motivation. Because, like, what is the cheese being used for? If not, like, trying to get the cheese back to feed your clan or your family. Unless, you know, the cheese is magical and, you know, unlocks gates and stuff. But I don't think we'd be making it that deep. Like, making the whole logic of having to collect the cheese that deep. So, eh, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? That's another one. Another thing I just thought of, and this is kind of like... So, rat-protected grand cheese. So maybe the cheeses are essentially the pieces of some giant relic. Um, so rat-protected grand cheese. Cheese shattered into pieces. Or slices, I guess. So cheese shattered into many slices. Or many pieces. But then that begs the question, like, what is this grand cheese? Is it just a big cheese that's like an old rock, or is it like an ancient relic that can do magical things? Is it like what kind of plot MacGuffin is it? Um, I think the funny thing would be like we actually bring the whole like. Oh wait, no, actually, no. I have a better idea for like having to turn like many pieces of cheese into like a big like plot MacGuffin relic thing. So so second iteration of the rat living with wife story. Rat lives with wife. Cat injures slash curses wife. So rat lives with wife. Cat injures slash curses wife. Rat must piece together cheese relic from cheese fragments to save wife. Like, at the very least, one, we have the evil cat. Two, we have, you know, my whole idea of, you know, the rat wife. Three, we have, like, a plot involving the rat wife where collecting the cheese makes sense because, hey, this cheese is... all of this cheese are all the small fragments of a plot MacGuffin that is used to help, like, either grant a wish or heal or, like, remove curses and stuff. Huh. There's fireworks outside. Why are there fireworks outside? Oh, that's why. Okay. But yes, so those are, at the very least, some ideas for plot. So we have a fairly bog standard one. Evil cat steals cheese. Rat can't feed family/clan. Needs to go get the cheese back. The second one, which is kind of weak because it invalidates and is also kind of invalidated by the, you know, collecting cheese and fruits aspect, because, like, why do we need to collect the cheese? And then in some parts, we'd also need to give a justification, like, why is the rat collecting fruits? Like, are they eating the fruit, or are they being used as, like, payment to other rats and stuff? Like, rats who, you know, are actively, you know, not the best people, and kind of work against the player unless they decide, like, they're like, hey, I'm Ricky Toothpick, and I'm not gonna help you unless you give me 500 smackaroon fruits. Fuck! But you know what I mean, like, there has to be reason. Things in my brain, and call this my crazy brain, but things have to bloody make sense in my brain. Otherwise, you know, it doesn't work. Things fail. Things feel weird if things just never make sense in my brain. But yes, for my brain, there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason for things. There has to be a reason why we get why the rat has to go collect the cheese. There has to be a reason why fruit is an important secondary collectible. Like, these things have to have a reason, and, like, that's just kind of an important thing to consider when trying to, like design certain things within games, like in terms of collectibles, in terms of things you can find, in terms of things you can do, in terms of, say, how you engage in certain ways. You have to think, why are we doing this like this? Why are we asking the player to carry out this objective? Does this make sense for, you know, the game itself, the world of the game, the story that's trying to be told here, and so on and so forth? And while I haven't played any of the Bioshock games, I know that there is, like, a little article that I was told to look at, like, during my first year of university by a narrative teacher, because during my first year of university, while I was on the programming side of the course, we essentially shared classes between both sides of the course, because at the time we were divided between like general games development and games design story development. So story devs were essentially like the writing side of games and whatnot, the narrative side basically. Yep, no, Ludo narrative. It was concerning ludonarrative dissonance, and it was essentially about like the first Bioshock game, or yeah, the first Bioshock game, and the ludonarrative dissonance within that game. Um, freedom and power. I can't remember the exact article that I. Though I think that might actually be the article, but I can't. Like what Ludo narrative dissonance essentially is, it's basically it's a term that refers to a conflict between how a game's narrative is told through, I guess, two different angles. One angle would be the non-interactive elements that the player observes, such as watching cutscenes and events that happen within the game, and then the narrative that's told within the gameplay itself, either environmentally or directly through how the player interacts with things, and so on and so forth. And like, I don't want there to be like a case of, oh, this is just a complete contradiction of the story that we're trying to tell through, oh, the events that happen with the story beats, and also the things that the player can interact with and find and essentially make happen themselves. It's like, I'm not trying to make like a complex, fleshed out, deep and expansive narrative experience, but I am trying to, at the very least, in terms of like a fairly simple plot, make a fairly simple plot that does, at the very least, make sense. So that's the one thing I'm trying to consider with like trying to think of these plot hook ideas. Um so in terms of those ideas, I might stick with the third one, because the third one feels like the strongest idea for me in terms of like motivation being like very personal, and the whole reason for going on the journey being very personal. And then the way that I could possibly see this expanding further, if we were talking about upping the stakes, like, say for example, as like an idea for upping the stakes with this like general plot hook, is that, oh, later down the line the evil cat finds that, or starts to also hunt these cheese fragments, and then or tries to sabotage your process of doing so, either to prevent you from saving like Ratman's wife, or he essentially starts trying to find them to either use the relic to essentially make it worse or to just inflict more harm. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe one of those ideas work. Maybe one of those ideas don't work. Who knows? But that's just kind of an idea in a way. But yes. With a kind of like plot-ish idea. I should probably save this. Should save this file so I don't lose it. So so plot, hubs, and levels, ideas. Yeah, so plot, hubs, and levels, ideas. So that's what this file is, so I know how to find it. So now that we possibly have an idea for a plot that we can use, or at the very least, a very basic narrative, ideas for hub worlds. So I already went very in-depth with like different styles and different structures for the hub worlds. But to kind of sum them up again, you can either have like what is essentially a single hub world, like Peach's Castle, each with like little like areas and doors leading to either the rooms where you enter levels or other areas within like a given floor. Or you can have something like Gruntilda's Lair, where each layer is essentially its own area. Like, it's still within the same, like, the same location, but each area, you know, within the lair or each layer within the lair is essentially its own area, with its own, like, different sceneries and stuff. Or we have the Spyro approach, where we have one hub, two hub, three hub, maybe 4 or 5 if we decide to go that far. And then we have, you know, moving from hub world to hub world, but within each hub world we have like different levels that are not, you know, not tangentially related to like a given theme for a hub world. And of course we'd have essentially either no, we'd have the same number of levels across each hub world just for it to make sense, because at the very least in the Spyro games, aside from maybe Spyro 1, where there's like not as many levels in the final world compared to the others, I don't know. But at the very least in Spyro 3, I can't exactly remember for Spyro 2 because it's been a good few years since I last played it. But in terms of Spyro 3, there is the same number of levels within each hub world. And like there's in each hub world there's a speedway. In each hub world there is a level with sparks. In each hub world there is one level where you play as one of the different animal characters. So Sheila, Sergeant Bird, Bentley, Agent 9. And then you have the other levels where you have to help the people within that level to help them make your transport to the next hub world and whatnot. They, aside from, you know, Midnight Mountain, where you're not building anything and these characters don't actually help with anything, they just kind of disappear afterwards. But you know, same number of levels across each world, aside from in Spyro 3, the absolute final level in the game, which was Super Bonus Round. That exists. Oh yeah, shit. Where is... That's the wrong tab. There we go. Icy Peak. But yes, for the most part, we'd want to keep things in terms of number of levels fairly uniform. We want that to be very uniform. Gosh. Oh gosh. Right. Yes. So in terms of like the hub ideas, so as Nick said earlier, like possibly caves for like one hub idea. Though the way I'd see it in terms of like hub idea, it would kind of fit into say the Gruntilda's lair format, where you'd have like one layer of caverns and like the little caverns within a given layer each lead to different levels and whatnot. And then you go down into a further layer, you have another set of little caverns that lead to different levels, and so on and so forth. Which, that could work. That could work for that idea. However, in terms of fitting in with the plot and having like a like overall like cheese relic that you have to piece together, um but yes, I feel like in a way, like while this still could work with like this plot idea, I would probably need to either retool this or consider something else, considering the fact that if we had like like it would be kind of samey if it was just like unless each layer of like the caverns were themed very differently, like had different like like different kind of like I guess in a sense like different biomes in a way, then it could work in like visually. Otherwise it'd just be a lot of like browns and grays and a lot of like muted colors, which wouldn't necessarily work for the best. But yes, like yeah, like different biomes. Maybe like this one could be like very like moss, and this one could be like very kind of mushroomy. But then I'd be getting into like Minecraft and Terraria themes, which I don't necessarily want to just copy outright. Like, don't get me wrong, I um, but all in all, hmm. Now, if we were to look at like if we were to look at habitats for rats, we could essentially like for hub worlds go for different like rat habitats, and then for the final one we have something that's a bit more cat-like. Um, Like you have the different like areas of like rat civilization or rat and related animal civilizations, like rodent civilizations. So different areas of rat slash rodent civilization. And then cat homeworld. Like where you slowly sort of like trudge along like these different like types of civilizations and you see what the cat has done because maybe how the stakes progress is that doing what the cat doing what they did to the rat and his wife and possibly other people they knew, that was only the start. Right. But I now that I think about it, like the different areas of rat slash rodent civilization kind of work. Maybe it could use a bit of fleshing out and a bit of like retooling. But maybe this in terms of hub ideas. But if anyone like watching back or anyone here has any other ideas for like different hub world designs or different hub world themes that can influence their designs, then I'm up for it. Though in terms of like what are considered rodents. So different other rodents aside from rats would be mice, of course, hamsters, squirrels, chinchillas. Rabbits are considered rodents? No, that. Oh, it was just the internet being fucky. Oh, they're lagomorphs. They're not rodents. This group of mammals is distinguished from rodents because they have two sets of upper incisors, while rodents only have one set. Okay, right. Okay. Oh, capybaras are considered rodents. Huh. I didn't realize. Hmm. Characteristics, classification. Okay, this does. I'm looking at Wikipedia on my phone for like classifications of different rodents, and this isn't. This is kind of burning my ratus. Ratus. The ratus. Oh, flying squirrels apparently as well. Hmm. But yeah, chinchillas, capybaras. So apparently capybaras are also rodents, according to Wikipedia. And now, as I said, I know Wikipedia isn't, 100% the most reliable source of information, but as I have already said, I would rather get my information from Wikipedia than AI bullshit. I want to rely on the actual knowledge of the people. Actual no actual information compiled by actual people instead of a machine. But yes, I think this could be a solid idea for hub or hub for for hub worlds. God, my brain is failing. Also, chat and people watching things back. I have a concern. I think my attention I feel like has definitely gotten a whole lot worse like over time. I find myself tending to get like more distracted than I used to, and that's very upsetting to me. It could be a sign of one thing or the other. It could be, you know, I just don't know. I don't know if it's like a thing that I need to like get like a brain scan for, or if it's just, possibly neurodivergent stuff. Because, like, generally speaking, I am waiting for like an assessment on that kind of stuff because I am suspecting something. But I just get distracted a lot easily. Like even on stream sometimes, like depending on what it is I'm doing, I just get distracted and that upsets me a lot. And I want to be able to focus and concentrate again, and I feel like I can't sometimes. But oh gosh. Ugh. So now, if we were to look at hmm if we were to look at like different like level themes in different games, because I do want to, at the very least, I want to kind of go through this comprehensively rather than just, half-assing it and just saying, we're going to be limited to these given themes. We're going to only do this and that and this and that and do these stereotypical themes when really there's a lot of wiggle room for this kind of stuff. There's a lot of room for like flexibility and creativity when it comes to trying to come up with different level themes and all that jazz. Just it's cool. It's cool stuff. Like being able to try and think of like a lot of different things is cool. So, gosh. But yes, let me just get rid of this because I was going through like the whole explanation of the different like hub styles and how they would like work and whatnot and how like different ideas would slot into each of those like given molds. Um Also, generally speaking, I know that I said I was getting like back into Wizard 101 recently within like recent streams and whatnot, but I feel like I've proper gotten back into Wizard 101. Like I'm trying to engage with a lot of the systems in the game, and that's generally like something that I haven't really properly done before. Like I'm trying to engage with like fishing and trying to get things from like getting certain items from fishing, like certain rare items that you are also able to get from fishing, doing gardening and, breaking, like gathering items for crafting and whatnot, because a lot of late game crafting in Wizard 101 requires rare materials, and there are certain like plants that you can garden Um, like there are certain plants that you can garden that give some of these rare materials, and if you have like a big farm of them, then you can get them very easily. So I'm engaging with gardening to try and do that. I'm actually trying to do some of like the little like PvP related stuff to try and like see what that's about and try and get other things that you can only get from them, which is cool. Um and I'm also looking at other things that the game has added over the years and trying to see whether or not it would be worth trying to engage in certain things. It's actually interesting trying to engage with, like, years ago I wouldn't have tried to get involved with the stuff. But nowadays is like, I have a bit more of a sense of trying to sort of like engage with different systems within a game that I've been playing for years. Because I'm actually, looking things over from top to bottom rather than just, go doing the whole like go from point A to point B kind of thing. Um Especially nowadays with how they've changed like things system wide, it's crazy. But yeah. Um my whole point is that I've got proper back into Wizard 101, and maybe it's kind of concerning and maybe it's not. Who knows? I do, at the very least, at one point want to try getting back into its sister game, Pirate 101. And I'll probably talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, in terms of level ideas, now, I am once again going to have to look at different, like, games to sort of, like, like, reference as, like, as a case of, for example, this game has these level themes and these level themes and so on and so forth. Um, like, if we were to look at, like, Mario 64, if we were to look at Mario 64, in terms of level themes, we have, like, how would I describe, like, Bob-omb Battlefield would be, like, a grassy plains kind of, I'd say, theme slash visuals. So, a kind of castle, no, a castle slash tower for like a Womp Fortress. No, wait, no, that would just be a fortress. It's literally called Womp's Fortress. Like a derelict like sailing port or derelict bay for like Jolly Roger Bay. You have like underground like caverns kind of area. You literally have Lethal Lava Land, which is just like a lava world. And you also have just like an ice world as well. You have a world where what like where things can become different sizes depending on, like, you have a world where things can become different sizes, and I think that's cool. Um like I like how creative like collectathons and games and whatnot can just, gosh. But so size changes as I was writing down. To be fair, with like two of the some of the levels kind of like reuse like different ideas. Like there's Lethal Lava Land and then there's Bowser and Fire in the Fire World or whatever, where they just kind of reuse like very similar the same themes. um, and then Rainbow Ride is just in the clouds, so like sky slash clouds. So in terms of like visuals or themes, that's what you could get from like Super Mario 64. If we were looking at Spyro 3, so if we were looking at Spyro 3, we'd have kind of like Rome slash Italy, kind of, for one of them. Like a tiki volcano. I believe this like kind of like the Swiss Alps or Sheila's Alps, even though Sheila's Australian. For the Seashell Shore, yeah, for Seashell Shore, it's more so like the beach than just like generally underwater. Even though, you know, a good chunk of the level, like some areas of the level are underwater, a lot of it is essentially just, you know, what do you call it? The fucking the beach. The beach. Why did I forget? Then you have like ice mountains. Like the spooky swamp is like a bayou. You have something which is themed like after China, like, and then something which is kind of like fantasy-esque with the Enchanted Towers. And I'm just kind of going through like some of the level themes. Like I'm going through the like I'm not doing like all the speedways because they're not true levels. Like they are levels if like on the technicality, but they're not true levels. So I'm only going through the ones that are actual levels. So also ad starts in about 2 minutes, chat. So then we have like ice like temple kind of thing with frozen altars. Have like kind of like a haunted shipyard with Ghost Fleet. No, Lost Fleet, not Ghost Fleet, Lost Fleet. With Lost Fleet. Then you have like a fairy tale kind of inspired level with Charmed Ridge. And you have like another like Chinese, like it's kind of like more like a Chinese myth like inspired kind of level with Fireworks Factory in a way. Like with the fight with the like the Chinese dragons and whatnot, but it's like it's very cool. And then in Midnight Mountain you have like something that's very like Greek inspired. Like no. Why did I write ice? You have something that's very Greek inspired. You have something that was very much inspired by the Egyptians. Western slash cowboy. And then... Wait, hold on. So... Wait a minute. I'm going to have to think about this for a moment. The ad break's about to start. So, we'll be back in a few minutes. So hang on tight, and we'll be right back, chat. And we are back. Okay, so... Oh wait, actually, hold on. I'm gonna quickly go refill water. I'll be actually probably back in just a moment, chat. Okay, now I'm properly back. I have refilled on water. Anyway, I completely forgot about some level themes from each of the hub worlds. So for the first one, Cloud Spires. That is essentially like clouds and the sky. Um, in the second hub world, I completely forgot about Sergeant Bird's introductory level. That's kind of like a war base kind of like level. In Evening Lake, there's Bentley's introduction level, which is like it's not really like an ice mountain, it's not an ice temple, it's more like an icy kind of cliff. And then in Midnight Mountain, there's Agent Nine's level, which is you know, that's like an island lab, like very sci-fi kind of like environment. Um, and then you have Crystal Islands as well, which is like a very like crystal magic inspired kind of level. So as you can see from like the level themes in Spyro 3, there are some variations on similar themes, like with Bamboo Terrace and Fireworks Factory. They kind of have like a similar like route in like with like the Chinese aesthetic and whatnot. Um, but they have like different takes on it. Um, and then you have like Brain, you have Icy Peak, you have Frozen Altars, you have Bentley's introductory level, where all of them are like snow ice themed, but they're kind of like different takes on it and whatnot. But yeah, in terms of like Spyro 3's level themes, all in all, they are quite broad in terms of level theming, which is kind of crazy. There is a lot that actually is kind of present in terms of level ideas and theming. So that's like in the case of this is a game that has 4 hub worlds. This has 4 hub worlds, each with like 4 normal levels, one character, like different character level, and one speedway, and then the boss. Um, like this is 4 hub worlds of that, which is wow. Like there is a lot of variety in terms of themes and like visuals, and I love that a lot. I love that a lot about Spyro 3. There's just in before me gushing about Spyro 3 again, like literally like going on about my childhood. Like I haven't done that before. But oh yeah, no, it's been over a year since I did the playthrough for Spyro 3 for the channel, which you know, I that was basically just like self-indulgence for me. It was a case of, you know what, this would be a thing that I would want to share with people. Like I want people to see this game from my childhood and why I love it. And you know, I did do exactly that. I did exactly that, and I use it as like whenever I'm working on this project on stream, or even make slight mentions about like changes that I've made to this project off stream and whatnot. I keep like talking about like Spyro 3 and the inspiration and influence that it kind of has, which is a lot. Like in terms of like trying to take like notes from it about like variety of different themes, the visuals and like other aspects. It's just there's a lot that I sort of like look at Spyro and some of the other collectathons for. It's just it just doesn't feel stale. It feels like inventive and unique. So yeah, enough about me glazing Spyro 3 for the umpteenth time. Um, so there are a lot of ideas in terms of what Spyro 3 does. There are a good handful of ideas that Super Mario 64 does. I haven't listed all of them. It definitely has like a good handful of themes. Um, but I wanted to do like the case in point of, here is Spyro 3. These are all of its level themes. Which is a staggering amount. And I believe I've emphasized how staggering that is in terms of like level themes. Now, in terms of Crash Bandicoot, it depends on what game you're looking at. If I had to describe like, if we were to look at Crash 1, you'd have like kind of like jungle, ancient temple, um like factory, like power station. Thinking about Cortex Power in particular. So jungle, ancient temple, power station, uh, castle, lab. Um, there's not too many themes with Crash One. Um, then if we go into Crash 2, I can't remember anything about. This was one of the things I was talking about, like when it was like coming up for ideas for stuff to stream. Like, what if I just played the Crash games on the stream? What if I just did that as like a bunch of playthroughs that I do on the channel? Like one to kind of revisit Crash 1 because it's been like almost 3 years since I first beat it on the Insane trilogy. And yes, I did play little bits of Crash on the PS1 when I was younger, but I never fully beat it. And I don't know what compelled me to do this. I don't know what compelled me to do this as a child. I think this was with Crash 2. I just can't remember. And I don't know why I did this. What drove me to even do this? But I remember when I was younger, I decided to break the disc for Crash 2. I think it was. I don't know why I did that. I could not explain it. I don't know what my motivations were. I don't know what was going through my head, because let's be real, I was a stupid dumb kiddie wink. And it's been, probably like 19, 18 or so years, maybe, who knows, at this point. I don't know. The passage of time is scary, but uh yeah, I was a stupid kid who decided it would be a good idea to do this, and yeah, it was not a good idea. One might say a ridiculously silly idea. So, no, definitely questionable decisions were made by Tales from like Tales in childhood, but at the very least, when I was younger, I did play bits of Crash. But one, as I said, broke the disc, and two, we never had any PS1 memory cards when I was younger, so we could never properly save the data. We could play bits of the game, get as far as we can, and when we next booted up the PlayStation, we just start off from the beginning. And that was, um Oh, there we go. Ugh, terrible. Sorry about that. Gosh. But yes, I have played like bits of Crash, but I do mostly vividly remember just playing Spyro. But I just don't remember any of the level themes from Crash 2, from at least the bits I played on the Insane trilogy. Which is not the best thing. um, but yeah, at the very least, in terms of these games, there is a good handful of level themes in Mario 64. There is a broad variety in Spyro, and there is like a little bit of a variety there in Crash 1, but there's not too much, if that makes sense. So, um, yes. Um, there are things that should be considered. Definitely things that should be considered when it comes to like coming up with the level ideas. And again, as I said earlier in the stream, it doesn't necessarily need to be like congruent to like, you know, a given hub world's like visual identity or theme. It doesn't need to be, oh, this place is like a grassy plains. Each level needs to be like a grass kind of area. No, it doesn't. It doesn't need to do that. It doesn't need to be, just exactly that. It's, you know, the whole like good thing about this like type of game is that we can be very loose with like what exactly we want in terms of like level ideas within a given space. So yeah, oh gosh. So now that I'm thinking, trying, or at the very least, now that I'm trying to think, boom, boom, boom. But yes, now it's think like it's all well and good and all talking about like different games having like a variety, like a broad stroke of like different level themes and ideas. But it's another thing entirely to try and come up with them yourself, especially when, for the most part, you kind of struggle to come up with ideas. So hmm. Right, so In terms of like I should probably get rid of or so I'll say rat plat level themes. So in terms of level themes for this project, like we could go for like a standard like at the very least like underground ruins or underground like civilization kind of like a beat for one of them. We could have like for some characters like they live in more arid conditions, so it could be I mean it could be, like a desert or like a deserty oasis kind of type deal. Um and I know that I've already gone on to sort of like detail some like level themes or ideas in the past, but I'm going to try and hopefully officially 100% hammer these ones in so that we have stuff to work from in terms of actually properly fully designing enemies and then, making the models and then making the sound effects and actually designing levels and designing hub worlds so we have at the very least something tangible for a prototype or demo. So um, in terms of other ideas, to be fair, I'll probably come up with like a small number of them, like at the moment, and hmm. I'm doodling to try and sort of like get my brain to engage itself. Right. So we already went on like the whole idea of like medieval or like Greek mythology or like stuff when I previously designed like some of the concept enemies. So if I go on to like or just a general like yeah um let's see. Okay, no, I found them. So maybe I could hmm. Right, so I'm definitely gonna keep medieval. To be fair, the reason why I'm keeping like medieval is I I still love what I was doing for like the medieval owl. Like I am keeping medieval. I am keeping the medieval theme. Simply for that fact. Um, of course, we could probably just like have like a whole underwater or like maybe like a kind of like a dam kind of themed area. Maybe who knows? Um, like ocean slash underwater. And of course, um I'm getting bots sending friend requests on Discord once again. You love to see it. Right. So we've got underground ruins slash underground civilization, desert slash oasis, medieval, ocean slash underwater, slash beach maybe. Or river. It could be like a whole like riverside level, maybe. Like kind of like a little waterfront area. Um Maybe like a kind of like bugs slash insect like bugs like kind of area. But then I'd have to design like the different like predators for rats and rodents like trying to pretend to be bugs, which would be hilarious. Now that I think about it, so maybe that could be an idea. Like originally I was winding that up as a kind of, oh yeah, I have this idea, but I'm kind of disproving it because I don't think it will work. But then I realized, oh wait, actually this could be kind of funny. This could look very funny as a visual gag for the level. So I'm keeping that idea. This idea actually does kind of work. So so we have those. Also, I'm happy to know that we've only had like the little connection problems the one time, which is good. Like I'm super glad it was just the one time where it just happened. So So we've got underground ruins or slash underground civilization. We've got desert slash oasis. We've got medieval. We've got um ocean slash underwater slash beach slash like river, like a little riverfront type deal. Um, we've got bugs. Oh, that's not good. Um, we would also have but let me think. So we've got looking at some of the other things I previously drew for concepts. So we have the mythological stuff. And if I did want to sort of like go into like the mythological stuff, I'd want to make it like a mishmash of different myths. Like not just like Greek, but maybe like Roman myths and Egyptian myths and whatnot too. So like myths. Of course for like the evil cat and whatnot, because he's supposed to be a pirate. I do want pirates as like a level theme at the very least. So I don't want to do like sky as in like the clouds. I'd want to do like sort of like planes or like airship type deal for like a sky level theme maybe. Which I think could be like a fairly novel idea for a sky level theme. Who knows? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 level themes at the moment. And if I was to take the Spyro approach and split them evenly, because I do want it to be consistent, then that would be 2 hub worlds with 4 each. Um, if I was doing like 3, then I'd need 4 more. No, wait. Yeah, no. If I was doing 3 hub worlds, I'd need 4 more level ideas. So. So airships would be cool. Airship. Ooh, wait. I just thought of one, like steampunk. I don't know how I would make steampunk work with like low poly PS1 art, but I think I can make it work. So ooh, wait a minute. I just thought of a thing for like hub world ideas. like for like actual like not just like a like overarching theme, but like an actual like design like implementation esque idea for one of the potential hub worlds, which is kind of hype, you know. Uh, so we got steampunk. Steampunk would be so cool. I'm gonna throw in the classic like haunted house or ghost kind of thing. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We need two more. So haunted house was a classic. Um, hmm. I think I'd still want to keep fantasy maybe because I. What did I say? It would be medieval. No, I would say medieval slash fantasy because that can kind of fit under like a similar umbrella. Um, then we'll have number 11. Um, hmm, number 11. Number 11. Um, let's. Come on, brain! Work! Work like you're supposed to! Uh, like, the one thing that popped into my head in terms of. Sorry. In terms of a level idea was like random. Like, things being purely random and chaotic. But then I realized, wait, Banjo Tooie does this with Cloud Cuckoo Land, and I'm not particularly fond of that level for the reason of some of the things that happen within it. But um oh, my goddamn brain. I'm trying to think and the brain is just stopping. Gosh. There we go. Let me think. What kind of inspiration can I get from looking? I don't know why I'm thinking that looking through my photos on my phone will give me inspiration, but let's see. Mm, why can't I think? No. This confounded brain. This confounded brain of mine. Why? Ugh. Think. Like maybe like crystals or a mountain or treasure, or, but then that would be related to pirates. Um, or maybe like a crystal mountain, or like a mountain full of like gems and stuff, or the mines, because maybe people yearn for the mines again. Who knows? And then last but certainly not least, I'm starting. I don't know why. In the deepest recesses of my mind, I'm starting to pull from like original Rayman. I'm starting to pull from original Rayman in the deepest recesses of my mind. For some reason, I'm thinking about like fucking Bandland from the original Rayman, which is like a world of levels made entirely of instruments, like of musical instruments and such. And then like some of the like levels at the end of like original Rayman looking like it was made from like cakes and desserts and stuff. Oh god, now I'm remembering the fact that I had originally considered like for a playthrough last year, um, playing playing the original Rayman, like not like the fan recreation Rayman Redemption, which I played a good few years ago. It's a very solid fan recreation. It fixes like a good chunk of the problems that the original version of Rayman 1 has, because like despite it being like a somewhat beloved 2D platformer, it has issues. And when I say issues, I mean it has a lot of issues. Um, so but yes, I am I why is my brain Like, I guess making a thing of like musical instruments would be cool, but at the same time, I don't want to just copy Rayman 1. But then again, I don't think there's many other games that actually makes. Or am I wrong? Like, maybe that will be my 12th level theme. So, in terms of locking in level themes, this can be subject to change. So we have underground ruins slash underground civilization because you know that could be interchangeable. We have like a desert or like desert like oasis type ish level. We have medieval slash fantasy. We have something that's either like in the ocean or underwater, like generally underwater, or like beach themed or like riverside, like riverfront kind of themed. Then we have bugs, myths, airships, pirates. That's a guarantee because of the cat pirate. Musical, like musical instruments and stuff. Steampunk, haunted house, and either crystal mountains or the mind. Gosh, right. So I think like those are fairly solid ideas. Gosh. Gosh. Also, like MCM Comic Con happened the past weekend, and I wasn't able to go again this time around. Sadly, kind of sucks because I wasn't able to go in October last year, and I wasn't able to go this time around, and I'm missing the vibes. I'm hoping when it rolls around to this October that I actually manage to get to go this time because I do miss being there. Like I miss being there a lot. Like and just being among like all the different like all the merch and everything and all the cosplayers and all that jazz. Uh, but that's, that's just that's just the thing I miss. But anyway, um, in terms of those ideas, I'm pretty happy with them. I am pretty happy with them at the moment. They're very solid ideas. So, hmm. So in terms of planning those ideas out, I will say because this was more of like a little planning stream, and I feel like we've basically done what we've set out to do in terms of plans. It's not too much else I can think of for today. I would have to like not just like in terms of like planning things out. There's not just a matter of like planning this type of stuff out, but also planning out like actual level design. And I feel like I'd need to be specifically doing level design type stream um for things and whatnot. Hmm. But yes, in terms of stuff, I need to specifically be in the mindset for level design, and at the moment, I'm not within that mindset. So, I think I'm going to call things here for today. So, to people who showed up and to people watching things back on the VOD, whether it's here on Twitch or on YouTube, depending on when you're watching this, thank you ever so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow, I will be doing what I had originally intended to do on Friday. It will be an art stream tomorrow. Also, regarding this upcoming week of streams, Wednesday may be a shorter stream than usual because I have to wake up very early on the Thursday because I will be away for a few days from like Thursday to Saturday. So there won't be a stream Friday. There will be one Wednesday, but it will be a short stream rather than just, the usual 4 hours length. Um, yes, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate it. And